Hello and welcome to Tea Break, the Furious Driving offshoot side channel where we talk about just random stuff and ramblings. We haven't rambled enough on this channel really. There's a lot more rambling I would like to ramble about, but I haven't rambled about it yet. I'm going to talk about Audible books that I'm listening to because that's quite a fun one. But today I'm going to talk about the Festival of the Unexceptional because that is the hot topic of the week, because everyone is very, very interested in that for the last few days. All the influencers have been influencing about it. So many photos on Facebook and Twitter and all the rest of it. It really is, it's becoming one of the biggest shows or the biggest show of the year. It's probably second only to the NEC Classic Show, which is coming up in sort of November time. A couple of years ago when I did a video about it, it was really only me and Ian Seabrook from Hubnut, Steph iDriver Classic, us three and a couple of other people who did a video. Now when you go there, it's like everyone with a YouTube channel is wandering around with a camera talking to themselves, pointing at all the things. But after the show, a few questions I saw, or a few times I saw on comments on Facebook, I saw it on Twitter, I saw it on comments on my own video about it. What is a FotU car? What is an unexceptional car? What is the point? Because some people, as is illustrated by the fact that someone parked a McLaren in the show, don't seem to get what the point of the Festival of the Unexceptional is, and don't really sort of get what the point of or definition of an unexceptional car is. And it sounds almost like it's an insult, but it's not. It's celebrating cars that people love. So this is kind of my take on what is an unexceptional car in terms of the festival. Because when it comes to classic cars, it's very easy to define a classic car. Fins, chrome, it's 50 years old. It's definably classic because it's got wire wheels or it's made by MG back when they had chrome bumpers. That kind of thing is very easy to specify. And supercars, again, so easy to sort of say, well, that's clearly a supercar, it's got 1,000 horsepower and it's a McLaren. But then there's this whole other middle ground of cars, which is what you find at the festival, which don't really have a definition. There's modern classics, retro cars, all kinds of things like this, which sort of semi-define them. But then it celebrates cars that we grew up with. Everyone's mum and dad and aunt and uncle and neighbours and things, they had beast model Escorts and Metros, Peugeot 205s, all these kind of things that for a long time didn't really get remembered as classics, even though they're now a lot of them pushing 40 years old. In the old days, sort of in the 1990s, for example, when Practical Classics was becoming a very big magazine and Classic Cars was enormous, it was very easy to define a classic car because cars changed so rapidly. The styles just leapt from what was clearly a classic car to the modern shape of the jelly mould, and then the sleekness and the more integrated look of wraparound lights and things, and it really defined very differently a modern car and an old car. And in 2000, in the 1990s, you're getting MGBs in classic car magazines that were under 20 years old, but no one questioned it as a classic car. Now we're getting cars in the 1990s which are pushing 30 and people are saying, well, how can that be a classic? Because it looks so similar to what we have today. And so for that reason, I think a lot of cars have kind of fallen by the wayside and below the radar of what is, of becoming a classic car, if that makes sense. So this is a show where you can go and you can reminisce about all the cars that you grew up with. The unexciting, ordinary cars that, fair enough, they're not fast, they're not glamorous, they're not expensive, but they're what your memories are made of. It's what you remember growing up with. When I did the Matra video, I didn't know anyone with a Matra, but I saw them around and they were just weird, interesting cars. And the number of comments in the video afterwards was my teacher had one of those. I don't know why so many teachers had Matra Ranchos back in the 80s, but apparently they did. And likewise, Minis. None of my family had a Mini or an Imp, but we had neighbours with both, and so I remember travelling in those cars. And so that's it's a memory. It brings these things back. And classic cars, and their values to a large extent, depend on nostalgia. So if you notice, cars from the 50s are sort of dropping down in value again now. They really peaked a couple of years ago, but now that wave is moving forward because a lot of the people who remember them from when they were a child, they are perhaps stopping driving cars at all, so they are no longer pushing that market. I mean, pre-war vintage cars, that's a market that's all over the place, because certain cars have managed to capture a little bit of modern interest. Austin 7 seem to be holding value and going up. But other ones, which are perhaps more valuable or were more valuable, they're falling down because there's no nostalgia for them. And currently, 80s, 90s cars, there's a lot of people in their 30s to the early 50s who remember these cars so well and so vividly, and that's their youth captured in the form of a base model car. And you can take it to the absolute nth degree, like Sean Hudson from Morsels and Motors, his second prize winning Metro, which was it's a fantastic thing. It's a base model, ultra base model Metro, where they decontented these cars so incredibly. It was almost painful to be in. It only had one mirror, no passenger mirror. They didn't get a second sun visor. They changed the headlights to the most basic original spec headlights rather than nice flush fitting ones. And Sean has been through, and he's taken all the additions that people have put on this car over the years to try and make it nice, and turned it back into the terrible poverty spec car it was when it was originally new. And that's a whole different angle on classic car ownership, and it's really fun. I really quite enjoy this whole different aspect of it, because I like hot hatches like the Alpha 145 next to me. There were a couple of 145s at the show. One of them was a base model Boxer, which is the lowest entry-level spec one there was possible. That one, though, it's a top spec one, so it's the same car, but I wouldn't feel comfortable taking it to that show because that was the aspirational one, the one you wanted to have. Likewise, this car, I actually contemplated taking this Rover 75 there, and there were quite a few Rover 75s. These are definitely having their time in the sun as well, which I'm quite pleased about, because, as I've said before, I do need to sell this car fairly soon, and there was a car there for sale which wasn't as nice as this for over £3,000 on the ticket in the window, which does give me hope that I will maybe make a few pounds on this one that I can put towards the next project, which would be ideal. But yeah, I thought about this car, but this one could have worked in, because this is a Connoisseur SC, I think it is, isn't it? I've forgotten the spec of my own car. But this was a fairly basic spec, but of a very nice car, and I was unsure where it fit in the rules. So I took the Punto, which was obviously a very small entry-level car, but my Punto is an ELX, which is as good as the Punto got. So again, I was kind of pushing the rules. I was equally pushing the rules the wrong one way or the other with either of these two choices, but I felt the Punto was a bit more festively than exceptionally. But I hope this rambling little mumble is an idea of what the festively than exceptional is kind of about. Because it's not about fancy cars, it's about memories, it's about reminiscences, and it's about, well, enjoying cars that don't cost a fortune, cars that are accessible for anyone, and cars that will just stir happy memories, or hopefully happy memories, not bad memories. I'm sure there are some, but you know. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you have, please hit like and subscribe. I need to bring this channel up a bit to match the main channel. If you're interested in any of the merchandise, for example, mugs, t-shirts, stickers, magnets, got magnets of pretty much every car in the fleet apart from the Punto. Likewise, stickers drawn by Russell Wallace, really good artist who's done a beautiful job on all of those cars. You can adorn your toolbox or your car itself or your laptop or anything else with, oh, here we go. So we've got the Crown Vic and we've got the Rover 400. Those are the stickers, and we've got magnets that are the same. Really nice pictures, those. Of all the cars in the fleet apart from the Punto, which I need to get done. furiousdriving.co.uk, or links and stuff as always in the description below. Anyway, thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll catch you again soon.